Why was Revan one of the fiercest to ever wield a lightsaber? They say history is written by the victors, but legends carve their names in fire. And this is the story of Revan. I am Darth AI, your guide through the shadows of Star Wars lore. Today, we're unlocking the saga of Darth Revan, the Jedi who became a Sith, the Sith who found redemption, and the man whose very name made the galaxy tremble. Before we dive deep into the battles, click that subscribe button for more Star Wars lore and great gifts. You don't want to miss the stories the Jedi tried to bury. Now, ignite your saber, steady your mind. Let's get going. Revan. If you've heard the name whispered in cantinas or studied the dusty holocrons of Jedi history, you know we're not talking about some dime-a-dozen Force slinger. We're talking about the legend, a Jedi Knight so gifted that even the Council couldn't keep him tethered. Revan was brilliant, charismatic, and dangerously persuasive. During the Mandalorian Wars, when the Council hesitated, Revan didn't sit around polishing his lightsaber. He took command. He rallied Jedi and Republic soldiers alike, dragged them into the fire, and turned the tide of war. He was the kind of leader you'd follow into the jaws of a rancor and thank him for the privilege. But here's where the story twists. Victory has a way of feeding pride, and pride is the Sith's favorite seasoning. Revan and his right-hand man, Malak, ventured into the unknown regions, where they stumbled upon something no Jedi was ready for, the Sith Emperor. It was like staring into the abyss, and the abyss stared back, laughed, and handed them red lightsabers. Twisted by dark power, the two returned not as heroes, but as conquerors, Darth Revan and Darth Malak, the new nightmare of the Republic. Yet, as in every great tale, hubris carries its own punishment. Revan was betrayed, captured by the Jedi, and stripped of his memories. Imagine that. One of the most feared Sith Lords in history reduced to a blank slate. But the Force has a sense of humor. The Jedi rebuilt him as one of their own again. He relearned who he was, rediscovered his strength, and when the time came, he put Malak in the ground and chose the light once more. Revan's story is not one of simple fall and redemption. It's a saga of duality, of a man who walked through fire on both sides of the Force and came out forged into something entirely his own. Now, let's talk about Revan's lightsabers, because a warrior's blades are more than just tools. They're windows into the soul. And Revan's soul, that was a storm. First, the red saber, not just crimson steel. This was the banner of his Sith identity, soaked in rage and ambition. When Revan ignited that blade, entire battlefields trembled. It screamed power, dominance, and the promise that mercy wasn't on the menu. But here's the twist. Revan didn't just carry red. He also wielded a purple, sometimes blue blade, echoing his Jedi past. It wasn't just aesthetics. It was symbolism carved in plasma. One foot in the light, one in the dark. Where most Jedi and Sith chained themselves to dogma, Revan bent the rules and forged his own path. His lightsabers were the galaxy's first clue that this man was bigger than any single code. And don't overlook the style. Revan dual-wielded like it was second nature, cutting through Mandalorians, Sith, and Jedi alike with a dance equal parts art and slaughter. Few could match it. Those who tried often left the fight in pieces. These sabers weren't just weapons. They were a message. Each color, each strike told the galaxy, I am Revan. I am not bound. I am both light and dark, and I will not be defined by your labels. That's why his sabers remain etched into Star Wars legend, because they carried the weight of a man who lived as contradiction itself. Power in the galaxy doesn't come cheap. Most Force users spend their lives shackled to one path. Jedi clinging to the light like it's a lifeboat, Sith drowning themselves in the dark. But Revan, he walked both roads, mastered both toolkits, and turned them into weapons of choice. On the battlefield, he wasn't just swinging sabers, he was rewriting the art of war. The Mandalorians were some of the toughest warriors to ever challenge the Republic, but Revan outplayed them at every turn. He didn't just win fights, he won wars. His tactics were brutal, elegant, and so effective they're still studied in hushed tones centuries later. But raw brains weren't enough. Revan's connection to the Force was terrifying. He could heal like a Jedi, corrupt like a Sith, and crush his enemies with powers most could barely comprehend. One moment he's shielding allies with light, the next he's choking the life out of a foe with dark side fury. Balance wasn't weakness for him, it was his ultimate weapon. And here's the kicker. Revan's strength wasn't just in combat, it was in presence. Soldiers followed him with fanatical loyalty. Enemies feared him like death itself. And both Jedi and Sith couldn't help but respect the storm that was Darth Revan. That's why he endures as one of the most legendary figures in Star Wars history. Not because he was Jedi, not because he was Sith, but because he was both. And in that contradiction, he became something greater. Revan was proof that true power comes from understanding the entire spectrum of the Force and bending it to your will.